Florida's Attorney General is launching an investigation into Dr. Anthony Fauci following today's contentious Senate hearing on the handling of the coronavirus pandemic. James Uthmeyer criticized Fauci's, quote, lack of candor to Congress. He added that it's past time we get to the truth of what happened during COVID. Earlier today, Fauci invoked the Fifth Amendment more than 100 times before the Senate Homeland Security Committee. In his opening remarks, the 85-year-old explained his concerns about why Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul, who chairs the committee, subpoenaed him in the first place.
The only conclusion I can reach is that the sole reason he is calling me before this committee is to get me to say something, anything, that could vindicate his repeated public pledges that I end up, in his words, quote, behind bars.
After the 3-hour hearing ended, Senator Paul told reporters he plans to schedule a vote next week to hold Dr. Fauci in contempt of Congress. CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson joins us now. She's also professor at Loyola Law School in Los Angeles. So, Jessica, did Dr. Fauci have the right to invoke the Fifth Amendment? Can he get punished or held in contempt for doing so?
So yes and yes, he absolutely has the right, like the rest of us, to invoke his right against self-incrimination. The question is whether or not, as you said, he could be held in contempt for exercising that right. And I think the answer is likely not, but only because President Biden issued a broad pardon for Dr. Fauci. And so the idea is that if you are pardoned, if you can't face any criminal liability, at least with respect to federal crimes, then you should potentially be forced to answer, that you shouldn't be able to invoke your Fifth Amendment right without repercussions. I will say there's a huge caveat to that, which is that a pardon, of course, can only cover the moment until the pardon, or this particular pardon did, and it doesn't cover state crimes. So it is possible that Dr. Fauci could say, look, I was still worried that I was facing criminal liability, both with respect to potential future crimes and with respect to state crimes, and that's why I invoked my constitutional right.
So what could be a state crime here now that Florida's investigating?
So obviously, I think investigation, I just want to emphasize, is very different from we are bringing up a criminal complaint. I think what they would try to look at is potential false statements. Those are typically things that I will say you would see brought by the federal government. When it comes to the state government and state crimes, they would have to go beyond we are investigating to finding that either there's some sort of state crime that would amount to, again, maybe false statements, or they think that there's another state crime involving what happened in Florida, particularly with respect to the response during the COVID pandemic.
What would a state, like, why Florida?
So, I mean, I think what we're seeing, and I don't know how else to say this, is that people are seeing Dr. Fauci through a political lens. So why Florida? I mean, Florida would argue that they were damaged as a result of things that Dr. Fauci did, and specifically that damage amounts to state crimes. But I will say, unfortunately, this is like so many other things splintering along political lines, where you have Democratic states who I don't think would go after Dr. Fauci or say we're investigating. And at this point, it's only one state, Florida, and Florida has for a long time been politically at odds with Dr. Fauci, saying we will now initiate a legal investigation. Lindsay, which I think is a long way of saying here again, we see the joining of political disagreements and a legal investigation.
Okay, so one more along those lines. We've got Fauci's journal entries. They were released prior to the hearing. They were discovered on government servers. I think it's still unclear whether it was a government device using a government account, exactly how they were on those servers. But is there any legal recourse he could pursue over their release?
This is such an important question. And I think particularly because people are worried, well, I take notes, I have a journal. Could this at some point be, show up in public? Could it be subpoenaed by the Senate? So a couple of things. We know that Dr. Fauci was subpoenaed, but that with respect to his journal entries, the reporting indicates that RFK Jr., as head of HHS, said that there was information, particularly with respect to these diaries and journals, that was found on government servers, and that he decided that it was in the interest of transparency to provide that information. Now, could Dr. Fauci try and bring a claim against HHS or against members of the Senate? Does he have any recourse? I think the answer is only if he can say this is privileged, or if he could say that he had a reasonable expectation of privacy in these journal entries that could overcome the fact that apparently they were on government servers and potentially used government equipment. I'm using the words apparently, you know me well, apparently and potentially are doing a lot of work here.
All right, Jessica Levinson, thank you.